5 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m., it is Monday, March 4th, 2019. It is, 22 below outside here at our lavishly appointed studios. Jay Matavin joins me. And good morning from the KMMS morning soapbox. And I'll tell you.
You have to wear that orange red shirt because it's so cold there.
I know.
You're not blushing. You're just cold.
I'm just cold. Yeah. Well, 37 below, according to the van on the drive-in, Shane. That's the coldest, I think, since I've been on the air anyway. A couple of years ago, it was 25 below when we came in February. But I don't know. March is certainly coming in like a lion.
Bozeman's turning more like into Mars than it is into spring.
Yeah, there you go. Tom Egelhoff, your morning mayor. You are on the KMMS Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And, we've got weather, I guess, is our topic to begin with, certainly. We're looking for a high of only 8 above and an overnight low of 9 below. That should be, if we make either one of those, I'll be happy.
But, exactly,
yeah. Boy, the van did not want to start very this morning, and the XL Country guys came running in here about 10 till. They're usually here at 5:30, but they were a little behind also. But it will be sunny today, so maybe that'll make you feel better. Tuesday.
When your battery starts talking to you the first thing in the morning when you try to turn on the car, you know it's a cold day outside.
You know it's a cold day, that's for sure. 21 degrees will be a high on Tuesday. Overnight low 8 degrees above. Should be a little better. That's going to feel like a heat wave. Wednesday, a little bit of snow, but no accumulation to speak of. 21 will be the high. 9 the overnight low. That'll be a little better. Then 38 on Thursday. That's sunbathing weather. 38 degrees, 21 the overnight low. So getting a little better. Maybe that 38 will get rid of some of the snow and slush and stuff. And then we got more snow coming in, of course, on Friday. 31 will be the high, 15 the overnight low, and 3 to 5 inches of snow predicted again on Friday, starting probably around 3 or 4 o'clock, so you get to drive home in snow from your commute. So
and that high of 31 is a teaser high. Okay?
It is a teaser high. Yeah, if it starts snowing, it may not get anywhere near 31. So we'll see how that plays out. But anyway, we've got snow in the forecast yet again. Temperatures around the area right now. Livingston is 24 degrees. Manhattan's 31. Livingston is 24 below. Manhattan is 31 below. Three Forks 32 below. And Gallatin Gateway is 23 below. Ennis is 24 below. Gardner 21 below. And at the airport in Belgrade, it's 31 below. And here at our lavishly appointed studios in downtown Bozeman, it is 22 below zero. Right here today. So it's kind of a pain there. So the other thing, we need to make an announcement about schools and all of that. Gallatin Gateway school will be on a 2-hour delay today. So they will start at 10 o'clock rather than 8 o'clock, I guess. And Manhattan schools will also be on a 2-hour delay Monday. Schools in the district will begin at 10 a.m. Three Forks schools will not have bus service today. Students have the option to stay home due to the weather if they ride the bus. Montfortin schools will not have bus service in the morning on March 4th. The Bozeman School District announced Sunday that all Bozeman schools will be on a 2-hour delay on Monday, and officials cite extreme low temperatures for the delay. In addition to classes, all buses will run 2 hours late. Afternoon dismissal and bus times will be the regular times. There'll be no morning activities at any school and no zero period at Bozeman High. So the Belgrade School District also announced Sunday that all schools will be on a 2-hour delay on Monday, and officials in Belgrade also cite extreme temperatures as well as the possibility of wind chills. So buses in Belgrade will be delayed 2 hours, and schools will be staffed to open to students at 10 a.m. So keep that in mind if you're sending the kids out to school. Most every school is going to be a 2-hour delay. So because of, it's 22 below zero.
That's right.
And much more in some other places. So
right.
I would imagine out in the outlying areas, we're in the 40s or 50 below zero out there somewhere. So this is not a good.
Don't want to keep talking about this.
Not good.
I don't want to keep hearing about this.
I know, it's not good. Well, just remember, you don't want the kids standing out there in this kind of weather because frostbite can happen very quickly. And in fact, we had several cases at the hospital here locally, Shane, of frostbite. So you got to be careful out there. Yeah, it's nasty. Yeah, it's not a good experience. You can lose your toes, lose fingers, you lose ears, nose.
And that's with socks and boots on.
Oh yeah. It's not like you're out there walking around in shorts.
Barefoot, you're not out there thonging it, you know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think everybody thinks they're warmly dressed. Get out there, and I'll tell you that cold can take it away from you. And there's avalanche warnings all over the place as well because we've got really light snow and cold temperatures. So be careful out there if you're out skiing or around. Avalanche warnings or in the offings.
My great nephew Corbin is senior this year. Played his last soccer game Saturday night. Went to watch it. It was like 8 below, and these kids are out in shorts and t-shirts. And I got so cold just standing there that my back's just froze up all the muscles.
I know, yeah.
And, I haven't been able to sit down for 3 days. It's so painful. I mean, it's. So seriously, folks, cold can whack you bad.
Cold can hurt you, that's for sure. Yeah, it's a little worse than that 90, 100 degrees out in the summertime that we get sometimes. You can get in the shade, you can get in some air conditioning, but and you can go out and wander around if you got sunscreen and you're well covered, but. Still,
and you can sweat and lose a couple of pounds.
That's true. Yeah, that's the worst that's going to happen to you. But man, you go out in the cold for 15 or 20 minutes, and you're in trouble.
Bingo.
All right. Well, this day in history, it wasn't quite so cold in England. 1681, England's King Charles II granted a charter to William Penn for an area of land that later became Pennsylvania. That's our Pennsylvania came from.
And I got to rant on this just for one moment because this is a historical period in Britain, 95 years before the independence by the Americans.
Yeah.
Charles II, 29th of May, 1630 to the 6th of February, 1685, was King of England, Scotland, and Ireland. He was King of Scotland from 1649 till his deposition in 1651, and King of England, Scotland, and Ireland from restoration of the monarchy when they put him back in 1660 until his death. This is because Charles II, his father, Charles I was executed at Whitehall on the 30th of January, 1649. At the climax of the English Civil War. They had one too.
Wow.
And the Parliament of Scotland proclaimed Charles II king on the 5th of February, 1649. And here's where it gets important. Then England entered this period called the English Interregnum, and there was an English Commonwealth, and the country was de facto republic led by Oliver Cromwell. And Cromwell defeated Charles II in famous Battle of Worcester, where we get the sauce, on the 3rd of September 1651, and Charles fled to mainland Europe. And then, of course, as everyone knows, it failed, and Oliver Cromwell died within 9 years. And Charles was invited to return to Britain and became the monarch again. But it's just so amazing that for 9 years, England was actually almost a republic. Wow.
Cool. How interesting would that be?
That could have changed things, seriously.
Well, there would be no reason to come over here.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Wouldn't have happened. Well.
Well,
It might have ended up Deutschland.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, in 1789 on this date, the Constitution went into effect as the Congress met in New York City. And, of course, today, of course, they're trying to destroy the Constitution, but it still seems to be in good order.
That's right. Went into effect September 25th, 1789 was ratified.
Mm-hmm.
And then, September 17th was ratified or approved by the states in 1789 and then became your Constitution in December 15th, 1791. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
All right.
So it was ratified, referred to the states, and then it took them another, 2 years, I guess, to become the republic we are today.
1791, the same year, Vermont became the 14th state of the Union. So we had 13 before that, and then Vermont became the 14th state. Bernie Sanders, first governor. I think, back in 1791.
The first original colonies were all done within the first year. Yeah.
There you are. 1837, the Illinois State Legislature granted a charter to the city of Chicago, and we've gone downhill ever since.
Now. They have a guaranteed woman now that's going to run the city,
Well, that's true. Yeah, one or the other is going to run it.
Yeah.
So, 1913, Woodrow Wilson was sworn in as the 28th president of the United States, and a very big liberal guy. And
amazing story what he did. He was the first progressive president. He started the whole progressive movement we have today.
Yes, he did. Yep. And,
it wasn't for his liberal bent.
Yeah.
And then, of course, remember the other side of that was his wife ran the White House, they say, for the last 2 years of his term.
That's right, yeah. Well, in 1917 on this date, Republican Jeanette Rankin of Montana took her seat as the first woman elected in the U.S. House of Representatives, and a lot of people think the high school should be named after the Jeanette Rankin High School. So
you brought that up last week.
Yeah, we did.
You knew this date was coming. Come on.
I knew this was happening. Yeah, that's it. 1933, FDR was inaugurated as the 32nd president, pledging to lead the country out of the Great Depression, and, of course, his policies prolonged it for probably seven additional years.
That's right. If it wasn't for World War II, bam.
Yeah, we'd probably still be in it.
Yeah, exactly.
1933, Frances Perkins became the first woman to serve in the cabinet when she took over as Secretary of Labor.
And that was a serious push because that's when the whole issue with the labor union.
The labor unions were starting up then, and were in full swing.
In Montana, and up there in that big copper mine, right?
Right, yeah. 1952, actors Ronald Reagan and Nancy Davis were married in North Hollywood, California on this date, 1952. 1987, President Ronald Reagan addressed the nation on the Iran-Contra affair, acknowledging his overtures to Iran had deteriorated into an arms for hostages deal.
And after Nixon, how do you guarantee you stay as president? Get on television and apologize to the American people.
That's right, yeah. 1989, Time Incorporated and Warner Communications announced plans to merge.
And that turned into a nightmare in 2001 when they took over AOL. Remember that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was a real mess.
It was the chairman of AOL convinced them to do it, then it went down the tube. AOL
went south, did. Yep. AOL Google went away, yeah.
Google came along, yep.
President Bill Clinton barred spending federal money on human cloning on this date in 1997. Quite a big deal at the time because we were in stem cells and all of the other things that were going on. Yeah. 2012, Vladimir Putin scored a decisive victory in Russia's presidential election to return to the Kremlin and extend his hold on power for 6 more years. So,
pretty amazing. 2006, right?
Yeah.
To today. Wow.
Knute Rockne, born on this date in 1888, the great football coach of Notre Dame and of the Gipper fame. And not too many other not too many other birthdays of any note.
No, nothing there that.
Yeah, I don't see anybody that.
Well, I know that Henry the Navigator was a personal friend of yours because he got you to Montana.
Yeah, Henry the Navigator. Yeah, born on this date in 1394, got me here. Yeah, I found his map.
Exactly, you found his map
in the garage. Yeah, so
the only reason I make that laugh is because he's credited with the map that Columbus used. Right?
That's right. Yeah, there you go. All right, doesn't look like we've got Montana news and agriculture. It doesn't look like you sent it over. Maybe it's too cold.
It's too cold.
So I don't know. So anyway, we're gonna do some other things, and we'll be right back. 23 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. It is Monday, March 4th, 2019. It is 22 below zero outside. Tom Eaglehoff, your morning mayor in the house. Shane Talman on the line from Vancouver, British Columbia. And welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. How you doing, Shane?
Well, they should make that emergency broadcast a multiple choice, okay?
Yeah.
It should now, because with Twitter, it should now be, do you want to live or die?
Yeah.
So, of course, everybody's going to pick live.
Yeah.
And then not only would it be multiple choice for people to interact with, but then they'd find out how many people are actually listening.
Well, that would be true. Yeah. We should put that should be a poll. Incidentally, I tried to get our poll up this morning. Maybe it's too cold, but the poll or the thing that sends me the code wouldn't work. So I don't know. We'll try it again later. Maybe we can put a poll up later. But anyway, the poll on Friday. Do you like the KMMS truth spots? The little blurbs we put in from time to time as fills when we. Sometimes the commercials are too short, or the guys didn't sell anything, so the computer automatically puts a fill in there. And
nice
so
now.
that's what those are. Well, I'm being nice. I'm just explaining how it works. So anyway, but the true spots, well, the lead goes to get rid of them completely. 52% say get rid of them completely. And the 36% say keep them coming. So 36.83% say keep them coming. The others, no, there are too many, was only 1.2%, and I like them, but not so many, was 2.1%, and then other was 3.89%. So there you are. So 52% say get rid of them completely, and 36.8% say keep them coming. So
well, there you go.
There we go.
Send that poll to the sales office.
Well, that's exactly what I did. I sent it over there and told them hey, here's a non-scientific poll for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Now I hope Clint calls today because I have to say this. Clint, the Bozeman Daily Chronicle had an article about as it enters its 40th year. The future of the Montana Water Court is unclear. Call us, Clinton. Tell us what the Montana Water Court is.
Well, we know what it is, but anyway, I know you don't. I know you have no idea.
I know. But Clint, he likes water.
I know he likes water. Okay. From our text line, our text line, 478-8298. Belgrade, 39 below in Belgrade. And someone else says we need to change the name to the KMMS Morning Icebox.
There you go.
I like that. Yeah, it's the KMMS Morning Icebox. I like that. The other day we were talking about Sacagawea and the names of the high schools, and the other school on Flanders is called Meadowlark. The new school should be called Magpie. High black jersey with white stripes on the sleeves. So there you are. We'd be the Magpies.
I think you need to invite this committee into the show. Come on,
the committee.
Get them to come in.
Oh,
call them out, Tom. Call them out. Make them come in and talk publicly about the name of the high school.
The naming committee. Get them in here. Get them in here and
all 20 of them.
Get them in here and slam them a little bit. Do you think we should do that?
Yeah, turn your studio into a sauna for a morning.
Yeah, right. There you go. Well, I don't know if they're going to show up or not, but but anyway, yeah, the water court, Montana water court could soon reach a turning point once all its old water right cases are settled. But experts say that won't end the state's water disputes. That's why some lawmakers and lobbyists support mandating an interim study that will examine the future of the Montana Water Court and finding a place for its judges and staff who've been steeped in water rights law. The House Joint Resolution 14 requests such a study with its findings to be presented to a 67th legislature in 2021. So, yeah, the water court has been around for a long time, and its purpose is to adjudicate water rights and who owns what and where and who has the right to use the water, who doesn't, and whatever. So,
and of course, you need a commission. Paid people to decide what to do with it.
That's it. That's the thing. Yeah. So, Representative Zach Brown, a Democrat of Bozeman, supports a water court study specifically approved and presented to the entire legislature. So, we'll see how this comes out, and we'll go from there. So, all right, that wraps it up for this portion of the Montana Bozeman and KMMS Morning Soapbox, whatever the name of the stupid show is. Yes. Yeah. So we got Montana News coming up. We got Fox News. We got Brooke Foster weather, more things, and we'll be back, Shane and I, with a lot more right after the news. 26 minutes before the top of the hour. It is Monday, March 22nd. I don't know where I am half the time.
Well, you're on Mars. It's so cold.
Apparently, the cold.
You're reporting from Mars. That's where you are.
The cold is affecting my brain. It's March 4th. Are you ready to March 4th?
Shane? There you go.
We're marching forth this morning, that's for sure.
There you go.
All right. It is cold out there, folks. It is very, very cold, and it is right now is 22 below here at our station as we speak, and it's 25 minutes before the top of the hour, as I mentioned earlier. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. Shane and Tom on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor, in the house. And, well, the other thing that's going on is Bozeman to consider a timeline for parks and trails fees, Shane.
Of course.
Of course they are.
Of course they are, yeah. Like, seriously?
This makes me nuts. You know, this really does.
It drives me nuts, too. We have this beautiful park in Vancouver, and you have to pay to go in there and park, and it drives me crazy. Like $8.50 an hour.
Really?
For to go to Stanley Park with your family and park. Now, it's a park.
I know. Yeah.
I like what?
I know. Well, the reason this drives me crazy is because every subdivision that comes before the commission, right. and I worked with a construction company on one of them. I put together or helped them put together the presentation for it, and you got to have parks in your subdivision, or it ain't gonna pass.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, they want parks in here. So you look at an overlay of Bozeman, and you got a cluster of about 5 parks within 2 feet of each other, and then you got this open space out here where there's no parks, and then you got another clump of parks together. And I tell you, I'm fine. You want to have a space in a subdivision, for the kiddies to go play and, walk the dogs and everything. That's great. But sooner or later, as we're finding out here, that they got to figure out how they can afford $6.8 million in backlog projects. $6.8 million bucks, because they insisted we have all these friggin' parks in these subdivisions. Now, when I was a kid, we went to the nearest grade school and played on the playground in the grade school.
Exactly,
I mean, come on,
exactly.
or high school or wherever, I mean, or we go to the kid with the biggest backyard or biggest front yard.
Well, yeah, and we live in the two best, country clubs in the world. And as I said, it was Saturday night, at 9 below, and we were on a soccer field lit up with AstroTurf fenced in. And, it's like, where are the heaters?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, you look at these football players, they got heated benches, they got these big heated blowers behind them. I mean, come on. Jeez.
Yeah, they drop their helmets on that white pole to keep it warm.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I don't know, but Billings, Missoula, and Great Falls each have a trail and parks district, which Commissioner Mell cited as evidence it can work well in Bozeman. Of course it can. More taxes always work well anywhere you happen to live. I mean, we can't. Right. We certainly can't wait. But Chris Mell said that the city would also do away with roughly $78 a typical property owner already pays toward park maintenance. You're already paying for it anyway.
Exactly.
But, well, anyway, parks are arriving in Bozeman at a faster rate than the city's been able to keep up with. Duh, because you keep insisting that there are parks in every subdivision that you pass. Jeez.
And what a great thing, you go to a park knowing you paid for it, and then you pay for it again. Like, that's got to make your day, right?
And city officials have said the district would help chip away at Bozeman's estimated 10 to 15 years worth of stacked projects.
That's right.
So I know some places in the neighborhoods, and we could talk to Jeff Krause about this tomorrow, because I think they're going to talk about it at their meeting tonight. But he's said that, well, in some cases, the neighbors chip in and take care of the park. They'll go over and mow it and, do stuff like that and clean up after people. But for the most part, some of them are just, they're weeds. They're weeds.
This is how city commissions get ahead of the new Green Deal, right?
Yeah. Well, when you go out and you look at Gallatin Park, they got a hill out there and a sand pile and some dinosaur things, and then the rest of the thing is a weed field. I don't know. Anyway,
and they don't even plant wildflowers.
They don't plant anything. Let's go to the phones. 522 Talk is the number. 522-8255. Calling you on the morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Morning, Tom and Shane. This is another Tom.
Hey.
What do you think the city would do if they sold the Bridger Park trailer thing? How much money do you think they'd get for that? And they'd take another park off the block.
Boy, I don't know. I'm not sure the size of that land or what it would be worth out there. I would assume it's a pretty penny.
Oh, yes, that would be a pretty penny. And that could definitely, get Mr. Mell interested in that and get the money they need for the trails.
Yeah.
Or take that back. Get the money they want for the trails.
Well, that's true. They could certainly do that, or they could sell a stupid story mansion they've been trying to do.
They haven't. Okay.
Hey, be careful what you wish for, because it started out with half of its name was park, so it could end up another park.
That's right.
I've got to correct you on the mansion, though.
Okay.
Going back to Kirchhoff, there never was an intention to sell that mansion.
Well, that's probably true, I think.
The intention was to give it back to the university, but the university knew what a money pit it was, and they wouldn't take it back.
Yeah, they wouldn't take it back, so... And then we had a couple offers. One of the attorneys here, but they wanted it to... the city commission wanted it to stay in public hands, or where public could visit it once in a while or whatever.
Okay,
so.
If I'm not wrong, the lawyers agreed to keep the bottom floor open for public events.
They did, yeah, and they were turned down, I believe, yeah.
Yep. Anyway, that's all my comments.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call.
All right.
Appreciate it. All right, we got to take a quick break, and we'll be back in right after this. 14 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Monday, March 4th, 2019, and 22 below outside. It is nice and nippy out there. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox. Shane Matalbin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Tommy Galoff, your morning mayor, in the house. And we need to alert you to Bozeman school districts. They are going to be 2 hours, a 2-hour delay today. Most of the schools in the area. Manhattan schools will also be a 2-hour delay today. Schools in the district will begin at 10 a.m. Three Forks schools will not have bus service today, and the students have the option to stay home due to weather if they ride the bus. Montfortin schools will not have bus service in the morning on today. And the Bozeman School District announced that all Bozeman schools will be on a 2-hour delay today, and officials cite extreme low temperatures for the delay. In addition to classes, all buses will run 2 hours late. Afternoon dismissal and bus times will be at the regular times. There'll be no morning activities at any school and no zero period at Bozeman High. The Belgrade School District also announced that all schools will be on a 2-hour delay today, and the officials in Belgrade also cite extreme temperatures as well as the possibility of wind chills. So buses in Belgrade will be delayed by 2 hours, and schools will be staffed to open to students at 10 a.m. So
yeah, and
keep that in mind.
You know the truth about this isn't just because it's cold. It's just, remember riding those old yellow buses? It took 2 hours for them to heat them up.
Well, that's true. Yeah, they were pretty cold. I know.
You may have gotten on a bus, but you still
froze your keister off, didn't you?
Yeah, you froze your keister off going to school anyway.
Yeah. Well, another local news story, DoorDash is an app on your phone, much like AM 1450 KMMS in Bozeman. Right. Other than this one is getting complaints from local businesses because DoorDash is an app that allows people to order food for delivery online using local drivers and Uber-like setup. And restaurants like Bob's Burger, Knife, and Pickle Barrel said they were signed up for the app without being notified or asked for permission. So Knife Bistro became aware that DoorDash was offering their products when a delivery driver showed up a few weeks ago. And and it was frustrating, the owner said, because the website didn't have the correct menu and some customers were unhappy when their orders couldn't be filled. And it also took away from the personal interaction with the customer that is part of the bistro experience. So Bob's Burger was asked if it wanted to be included in the service, and General Manager Tanya Colzer, she didn't want to work with DoorDash because there's no way to do quality control, she said, since the drivers don't work for her. She doesn't get feedback on the food, and she has no way of knowing if it would be delivered before it gets cold. She prefers the face-to-face interaction of customers, which is why Burger Bob still does orders for pickup. So on its site, DoorDash does have some requirements for delivery drivers, including they must be over the age of 18, have no major violations and fewer than 3 accidents or moving violations in the past 3 years. And they must consent to a background check. So, what can I say?
And of course, this time of year, DoorDash guys are all driving snowmobiles. So the likelihood of your food being warm is not likely.
Not likely. Yeah, it's not going to be likely that it's going to get there. So, yeah, I think expectation of hot food. I mean, even pizza delivery is somewhat suspect. So
exactly.
By the time they make your pizza and it's going to be there in 30 to 45 minutes or whatever they tell you, it's
that's right.
Yeah, it's
Your pizza will be cold, but the taco salad will be frozen.
That's right. Yeah. Amen to that. So, all right, we got to take another quick break. We'll be right back right after this. It's Monday, March 4th. March 4th, Shane.
Days to go.
I know. Just 4 short days to go.
No, 11 till the 15th of March.
Well, that's true. Ides of March. Yeah, the Ides of March. Yeah. It is 22 below zero out there. Man, ouch. And I'm sure it's colder in other areas around the area. So by all means, let us know how cold it is at your particular place.
And, on a day like this, you don't want to hear the wife say, honey, could you go out and get the milk, please?
Yeah. Yeah, why not? Let's see. 35 degrees below zero, it says, at 1450 kilohertz. So it was 37 coming in on my van this morning. So I'm not sure what was going on there, but it was pretty darn cold. The old gas guzzling, climate destroying SUV super van didn't want to crank up this morning.
Yeah.
It was pretty darn. The owner didn't want to get up all that well either.
Now, do you have one of those radiator warmers where you had to plug it in overnight so it didn't freeze?
No, we don't have one of those actually. We've got a carport that's closed on a couple sides. So yeah. So when I came out, it was only 25 below in the carport, but driving in, it dashed up to 37 below, or down to 37 below, I guess I should say. So that's pretty nippy out there. But as I said, I'm sure there are other areas around Bozeman out in the outback. They're probably approaching 50 below, probably out in some of these areas.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty nasty deal out there. So the other thing that's going on, unfortunately, the VA is going to end funding for a homeless vet residence in Helena after losing its funding from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Helena Transitional Residence for Homeless Veterans is operating on a month-to-month basis and looking for sources of revenue. The 12-bed Willis Cruz House has relied on VA funding for the last 16 years. However, the facility lost the grant in October 2018 without receiving an explanation, according to the Montana Veterans Association. I was surprised when I found out there wouldn't be any funding. I didn't expect it, the director said, and adding that the facility easily passed all 9 parts of the inspection process. So current operating costs for the house are between $10,000 and $15,000 a month, and expenses vary widely and include food, toiletries, utility bills, mortgage, and payroll. And drug and alcohol screenings are also a part of the home's expenses due to the program's restriction on the residents. So public donation, grants, fundraisers, garage sales, and food necessity items. Drivers are a few ways they've continued to raise money for the home. So she said that some area businesses have kicked in a portion of their profits to the home, but as they've done everything they can to keep it operating for the past 5 months. But they had a donation from someone who gave them $11,000 on their death in their will, and so that's going to be kind of hard over there on those folks. That I don't know. They need to talk to Danes, talk to Tester, talk to Gianforte, see if anything can be done for those folks, because that's a bad situation over there. We certainly, being a vet myself, we certainly want to take care of vets who need it, and hopefully they will maybe find a way locally to raise that money. But that's a pretty big nut to crack, $15,000 a month. That's pretty hard to come up with.
And the thing is the university's got what up there? They got like $800 million in their endowment fund. Why don't they give some money?
Well, seriously.
Serious.
Well, they start doing that, then the floodgates would open. Everybody would want that money for every every charity in the world. So,
gee, well, that's so bad, isn't it?
yeah, I know. All right, that wraps it up for this hour. We've got to play a couple bills. Coming up 8 o'clock, Scott Sales will be back in along with Steve White. We want to talk about some of the bills, but I also want them to maybe talk a little bit about how the legislature works. A lot of people don't realize that rules are different in the House and the Senate, and we want to go over some of those things. So you kind of get a feel for how bills become laws up there, because sometimes it's kind of convoluted. So we'll be right back after this. 3 minutes after the hour of 7 a.m. in the morning, and it is Monday, March 4, 2019, 22 below outside. Just hanging in there, Shane.
Or hanging over. Whatever.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty nasty out there. So be careful if you're out and about. It is not pleasant out there. Frostbite can happen in a few seconds, so by all means, take care of yourself out there. It is not good. So some other things we need to point out. School closings. Well, we don't have any school closings, but we do have buses running late. Gallatin Gateway School will be on a 2-hour delay today. Manhattan schools will also be on a 2-hour delay. The schools in the district will begin at 10 a.m. Three Forks schools will not have bus service today. Students have the option to stay home due to the weather if they ride the bus. Montforton schools will not have bus service in the morning this morning either. The Bozeman School District, they will be on a 2-hour delay today. Officials cite extreme low temperatures for the delay. In addition to classes, all buses will run 2 hours late, and afternoon dismissal and bus times will be at the regular times. There'll be no morning activities in any school and no zero period at Bozeman High. The Belgrade School District also announced that all schools will be on a 2-hour delay today. Officials in Belgrade also cite extreme temperatures as well as the possibility of wind chills. And buses in Belgrade will be delayed 2 hours, and schools will be staffed to open to students at 10 a.m. So keep that in mind as you get the kids ready for school, that you're going to be on a 2-hour delay at almost all of the schools in the immediate area. So take care out there and act accordingly. Huh?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Now, this is something we got to talk about briefly because I think it's important.
Go for it.
So, in the Chronicle, Montana lawmakers want to ask the university system to expand job training. Wow. Now, how strange would that be if academia started saying, oh, right, it takes 7 years to get the board, if you want a trade like a plumber, an electrician, or a carpenter, or a welder. Mm-hmm. And, we're going to offer that at the university. Because, now a kid goes in and they could go to the university to get this 7-year course done and pay $15,000 for it, which isn't like $100. Mm-hmm. They'd be able to pay it back because it's a good job. And then all of a sudden the universities in the country go, we're now in trouble because now academia isn't going to be about, an economics degree for $100,000, but an actual job someone can get. That could change your education system at the third tier level, buddy.
Well, it certainly could. A lot of kids, I think, in school now are realizing that if you're a good welder, if you've got a knack for doing that, or repairing things, taking them apart and putting them back together with no leftover parts, you can make lawyer type money in about 3 years. Yeah.
Well, I know, but it is like a 7-year course to go through all of the process and the training and the testing, and then you have to work. But I'll tell you, academia would go nuts if all of a sudden, if all of a sudden half the people going to the university are getting a trade degree, which takes 7 years. It does. It takes 7 years.
Yeah.
So they'd be really in trouble.
Yeah, I took an auto mechanics course in college.
There you go. Yeah.
And worked as a mechanic for a Chevrolet dealer in my summers off.
You have to put the time in. this could be a big change in your education system if that were to start happening.
That's true. Let's go to the phones. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, you're on the air on the Morning Soapbox. What's up?
Howdy, boys.
Hey.
This is your social justice plumber.
All right.
All right.
Just us. It's just us. Just you and me.
That's right.
So how long did it take you to get your How long did it take you to get your board as a plumber? Tell everybody.
Oh man, you know what? If you start off an apprentice, 5 years you can have your plumber's license. Actually less, but if you have to in Montana, because Montard is like it's not unlike the other states. It's still highly union.
And how much did it cost you? What was the cost for you to get it done?
You get paid to get it done.
Well, there you go, buddy.
Well, see, there you are.
I mean, you're going to get paid through your apprenticeship, through your 2 year, 3 year. You know, then you get your master's. Plumbers about 5 years. The electricians is the same way. You know, so see, the deal is the unions don't have all the wage money coming into them because people are going, I don't want your BA up there telling me I can or I can't work and what I can do and what I can't do. And then, you know, you're going to charge everybody full rip and retail plus pay your salary to sit on your lazy butt all the time. So, see, unions have been losing a lot of folk. Now, if they get it to the university system, you know, you'll get the union money coming back in.
Well, not only that, but if the university did the training and educating, you could take a business course and learn how to set up a company. So when you get your board, you can go out and start your own business.
You can do that to people like Tom knows. You know, you don't even have to go to university to learn how to run a business. You know, we got ways and means because the American public is free to will as they want on their own life and their lifestyle. And the thing is, half this stuff, I mean, if you go to Nevada, you go to Utah or Idaho, you don't have to join a union to start learning the trade. And you're going to learn just as well. I just don't know. The university system, the unions, it's all communism in the root. If you get to the root of it, it all is rooted out of communism and the 12 points, the manifesto. So, talk to you. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Thanks for the call. Yeah, well, you know, I've always thought, well, that was one of the things that Gallatin College wanted to do. You know, they've got introductory, you know, I taught a marketing advertising class there a couple of years ago. And, you know, they want to do welding. They want to do auto mechanics, air conditioning, you know, the HAC or whatever they call it, that, you know, to get people, because these things are going to be the jobs of the future. You're either going to be doing that or you're going to be doing something in computers. I mean,
that's right.
Either or you're going to be either building or repairing robots.
or in the medical field.
Or in the medical field,
you know,
yeah.
Caring for people.
Yeah, caring for people and doing things like that. That there are some jobs that humans have to do. So, what can I say? So,
sort of. We have to do this job, Tom.
Right? Yeah, we've got to do this job. So, let's see from our. From our text line, temperatures are like this. Battery power gets open up. Come on, open up. Battery power gets cut by about half. With a battery warmer, you'll find your vehicle starts pretty easy. Pick one up for next winter if you can plug it in. So, yeah, the other thing I've also found out from folks that you don't have to plug it in and leave it plugged in all night. You can plug it in about a half hour before you want to go out and start the car. So if you don't want to use the electricity all night, now I don't know if that's true or not. When I had vehicles that I plugged in, we always did it, you know, the night before, when, you know, before going to bed.
Yeah, well, the thing about it that I find interesting is that this has gone on for years, because I remember as a kid we did that. But, you know, here you have all these parking lots everyone goes to plug their cars into, you know, the electric car.
Mm.
But they don't provide a plug-in to keep your car warm.
Well, well, supposedly the electric cars warm up immediately.
Yeah,
so,
well, yeah, of course.
but
yeah.
that does take more battery power, though. After you go a block, your battery's dead.
Yeah,
So,
it's cold.
it's cold out there, yeah. Well, the other thing that we learned to do is when you plug your car in, take the cord and wrap it up in under the windshield wiper, because otherwise you'll forget you have it plugged in and you'll back out and you'll either rip the head off of your cord or vice versa. And
but the other thing too is that the cord will be warm, so it'll keep your window clear.
Well, I don't know if it'll be that warm, but I don't think that's an option. But whatever. So well, the other things that are happening around the area that we talked about. Well, we haven't talked about yet, I guess, Shane. At least when we're talking about local info. Is that we've got the school board's going to take another run at naming the high school. We talked about that, of course.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
But also we've got the ACLU involved in this ICE deal here locally. As to what we're going to do with that. But before we get into all that, let's take a phone call. 522 Talk is the number. Caller. Thanks for calling the Morning Soapbox. You are on the air. What's up?
Hey, it's a little west of Belgrade. My thermometer is bottomed out at 40, minus 40.
Wow. All right. Good for you.
I'm thinking the battery warmer would probably need a warmer.
Yeah. Yeah, you need a warmer on the warmer.
Yeah. Have a good day, guys.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. Yeah, so, well, that's what I figured. Some of the outlying areas, it probably is 40 or more below zero out there. So with the wind chill and everything else. So, yeah, keep in mind.
I'm wondering if you don't have a battery or a car warmer, can you use a heating pad?
Well, you're
just a thought, Tom.
You're definitely off your meds this morning, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, it's 30 below,
Well, yeah, right. Well, anyway, the ICE situation here, ACLU challenges immigration holds by local officials in Montana, and they want to hold these folks and turn them over to the Immigration and Custom Enforcement, and the ACLU and a lot of these other groups are saying no. We don't like ICE. We don't want any of these people held. We just want them roaming around free and taking all of your, all the entitlements available to them. And, so I don't know what the big deal is. Why are we so, I don't know, compassionate is a hard word for me to say when I talk about illegal immigrants or illegal aliens. Yeah. They're not even immigrants. They're just illegal aliens. They're, if I lived in Mexico or Honduras or Guatemala or somewhere, yeah, I would probably try my best to get here, but still in all, I mean, there's got to be some logical thinking here going on somewhere.
Does the expression, compassionate to a fault maybe ring a bell?
Well, that would certainly be one of them that I think we are, but I mean, this kind of action just encourages people to come.
That's right.
It really does. I mean, the ACLU isn't that the American Civil Liberties Union, not the Immigrant Civil Liberties Union?
That's right.
I mean, aren't they supposed to deal with you and me?
And didn't we talk about this back in 2015? We said, if Trump happens to win, he and gets all these things done that he wants about the economy, mm-hmm. you'd need a wall because, the big argument back then was, well, they're all leaving. Well, and you and I were talking about how you better build a wall because it'll all come back.
Well, that's true. I mean, come on, what are you going to do? All right, I've got a caller on hold, but we got to take a break. Caller, hang on, and we'll be with you right after this.
Yeah, here we go.
All right, 22 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock. It is still 22 below out there. Monday, March 4th, 2019. Shaman Taubman on the line from Vancouver, British Columbia. Tommy Galoff, morning mayor, and we're the hosts of the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. So let's go to the phones. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. And caller, you are on the soapbox. What's up?
This is the soapbox this morning.
That's it, man.
Well, it ain't very slippery. It's cold out.
Yeah, well, we put ice melt on the steps to the soapbox. So.
Okay. So the suds is still up there, huh?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Well, what I called about is something very serious.
Yeah.
I listened to Trump's deal at the CPA the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to other presidents, as you have and Shane has. And I'm addressing what I'm about to say to the Democrats as well as Republicans. Now, in our drug courts here in Bozeman, and our drug task force for the state of Montana has costed millions of dollars. And they're all over, these here task forces are all over the United States. And what is happening here, they're trying to catch the bad guys, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, well, we have a crisis. I've never seen a crisis so bad as it is now with these drugs. And I'm saying that because of the schools, the trafficking of people. And it's all coming, most of it coming out of the South, out of the Mexican cartel. So we're spending on these various different little cities and towns that try to take people that's been on drugs and rehabilitate them. Just think of the cost of that. And we're spending not millions, but billions. I was thinking about it and figuring out and adding some stuff, and it got so bad that I quit. My mathematical mind said, "To hell with this," and so I just said, and I'm not off. It's billions that's happening to us across the United States. And if you Democrats and you Republicans out there cannot see that, you're not fit to be in office in Washington, D.C. Just sit down with a pencil and a paper like I did, or in your head, however you want to do it, and start, just figure Bozeman, Montana, then go to Great Falls, then go to Missoula and Helena, and get the costs, and it's going to scare the hell out of you. And we do have an emergency, and Trump is right by building a wall. The wall will slow him down. It ain't going to stop all of it. It'll sure as hell slow him down. And I know there's people on the border there, on the river, that need, and some of the cattlemen need water. Well, we can build pumping stations or whatever we got to do to make sure they get water. There's a lot of things we can do if people will do it. And if the Democrats would just wake up, and some of the Republicans wake up, and start talking to their local sheriff, their drug agencies that it's in, talk to the state attorney, Mr. Fox, talk to the U.S. attorney, and you will see that what I'm saying is right. So what I'm saying, Democrats and Republicans, get off your ass and do something that's right for this country and for our children.
I just want to point out a couple of things. First of all, remember what the Democrats didn't do about crack cocaine in the 80s and 90s in the inner city, and it wiped out the African-American family and the problems they had. So, now this has hit the rural United States, and it's been around for 20 years because it started with meth. Meth was the first thing that hit the rural areas of your country, and now these other drugs. So it's a bit scary because the history doesn't show that they want to do much about it, either in the rural part of your country or the urban centers of your country.
Well, there's clients that these drug cartels have, and these people that are selling drugs like in the city of Bozeman, They're selling to lawyers. They're selling to everybody. Uses heroin and cocaine. And see, you've got an uphill battle. So that's why I'm addressing the Democrats and the Republicans. We've got to stop it. And we can stop it if we really try. You know, we can do it. We won World War II, didn't we? You know,
3 years.
Yeah. And now, you know, we just got to stop this flow of drugs. And we can. If they just wake up, the two parties will wake up and address it. Really come out and address it. And any time that anyone does, nobody will put it on the TV. The news media is bought off, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what the hell? The only news media that I've ever watched, and I don't watch it too much, is Fox. And Fox is kind of intermediate, but they're getting so now that they're the same damn way. So about their news, you know?
Yeah, I don't know, Clint, if you remember a couple of years ago, there was a guy in California that put up the money for a whole bunch of meth ads here that were very good.
Uh-huh.
And I think that slowed it down some because it, you know, really showed these kids, you know, what really happens to you.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, everything from death from the first time you try it to losing your teeth or, you know, whatever else happens to you.
Fry your brain.
Yeah.
Well, look at here in Montana. I mean, the state of Montana is costing us a horrendous amount of money. It's not as well as the counties and the cities. It's costing a fortune. And now tell me something. Why are the Democrats and the Republicans so set on their parties rather than the American people and what is good for the American people? To hell with the parties. What is good for the people?
Because they got an election coming up in 18 months.
Isn't that... It makes
that's
me,
the reason. That's the reason.
It makes me sick.
Well, it makes me sick too, but that's the reason.
I know it, and it's money.
Yep, that's it. You got it.
Anyway,
that's simple.
I better shut up because. But I'm just saying, you take Brian Gooten, the Drug Task Force here in Bozeman, folks, add up his cost. You can go to the courthouse and get it.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Go up there and get it and see how much it's costing them. Then get the Drug Task Force. Then go ahead and get. Where we're trying to rehabilitate them. Get the cost of all of that, and it'll scare the living hell out of you.
There you go. Got to go.
You betcha.
All
Bye.
Right, thanks. Bye. Caller, I have about 30 seconds. Go for it.
I'm going to do it. I'll call you back.
Okay. All right. All right, that's going to do it for us for this half hour. Coming up at 8 o'clock, Scott Sales will be in the house. So will Steve White, and the two of them will join us, and we'll talk about bad bills and bills, whatever bills there are, I guess, out there still, and where the second half of the legislature is headed, and maybe a little bit on how the legislature works, since the House and Senate have different rules and all of that. So maybe we can help you wrap your mind around how all that stuff works up there in Helena. We'll be back with more right after the news. 26 minutes after the, or for the top of the hour, I should say, Monday, March 4th, 2019, 22 degrees below zero, still hanging in there, Shane. Having quite a day out there. So, Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor in the house. We got a couple things on the text line from our text line. Let me pull it up here. Great day to take the electric car for a spin. Your Tesla range is down to about 2 miles with the heater running full blast. So, yeah, I would tend to probably agree with that texter. And let's see, we've also got. Hang on with me here. Temperatures like this, battery power gets cut by about half with a battery warmer. You'll find your vehicle starts pretty easy. Pick one up for next winter if you can plug in. So, yeah, might need to think about that, since global warming is a thing of the past, obviously. So, not doing that anymore. So
yeah, that's right.
Also, we got some school closing, well, not school closing, but school delays we need to let you know about. Galton Gateway schools will be on a 2-hour delay today, and Manhattan schools will also be on a 2-hour delay. Schools in the district will begin at 10 a.m. Three Forks schools will not have bus service today. Students have the option to stay home due to the weather if they ride the bus. And Montfortin schools will not have bus service this morning either. The Bozeman School District announced that all Bozeman schools will be on a 2-hour delay today, and officers cite extreme low temperatures for the delay. In addition to classes, all buses will run 2 hours late. Afternoon dismissal and bus times will be at regular times. There'll be no morning activities at any school and no zero period at Bozeman High. The Belgrade School District also announced that all schools will be on a 2-hour delay today for them, and officials in Belgrade also cite the extreme temperatures as the reason. Buses in Belgrade will be delayed by 2 hours, and schools will be staffed to open to students at 10 o'clock this morning. So keep that in mind as you get the kids ready for their educational liberal opportunities around the area. So I assume, I don't know, MSU, you're on your own, I guess. I don't think MSU has any buses other than Streamline. So I don't know.
But I'll bet that safe space up there is chilled today.
I'll bet it is. Well, we should get to 5 things you need to know, Shane.
Okay.
All boring.
No, not really. It's just so sad that tornadoes are already starting up in
that's
the south
true,
of the
yeah.
country in March.
And killed 23 people in Lee County, Alabama on Sunday. 2 tornadoes swept through the area, children among the dead, unfortunately. Lee County is in eastern Alabama along the border with Georgia, and a dozen of people were injured and are being treated at East Alabama Medical Center in Opelika and other hospitals. Homes and buildings have been destroyed, and due to severe thunderstorms in the region, more than 35,000 people in Alabama and Georgia are without power.
And the videos are horrific. I mean, because they're real time. They're real time. I mean, it's like, ooh.
Yeah, they are pretty bad. So
Paul Rand is going to oppose Trump's national emergency. Big surprise there.
Rand Paul.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I can't. I read backwards when I'm this tired.
I was going to say, you're a little dyslexic this morning, huh?
Yeah.
You're spending too much time in the bra.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Well, anyway, he's going to vote against it apparently. So we'll see how that plays out. And I guess if the thing is defeated, then Trump will sign it. So, yeah.
I don't think he'll sign it. He'll veto it.
Well, I mean, he'll veto it. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, I'm taking the same meds you are, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's take a phone call and see if we can save the morning. Caller, you are on the air. What's up?
Save it? What happened to our 40 below zero here? I had all my cabinet opens and everything.
Yeah, you got to do that. Yeah, you got to keep
Don't want the tuna fish to freeze.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 things. What's happening in Long Island with the MS-13 is a start, because first they begin threatening the families of the police.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, they know where they live and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
That's enough. Secondary, right here in our little Bozeman or Montana, the commissions on both ends, instead of them advertising how great this place is, and then start building the low-income housing, as you said, hey, if you want to live in Bozeman, you can't afford it, live elsewhere.
Yep.
But logic and politics don't go together. Now, those, they should, instead of sitting and playing with trying to figure out how to spend more money and where and what, which things we don't need or don't want. How about this novel idea how to cut expenses? What do you think?
No, cut expenses? Are you kidding me?
No.
What are you, some kind of nut job?
No. Really? Has it come to that?
Are you kidding me? Politicians have a gene. They're born with it. No cutting expenses gene.
And also we have to thank also our nationwide, the LCAU, what's the other outfit, Southern Poverty, and the lawyers, these ambulance lawyers, are the biggest donors to the Democratic Party.
Yep.
So we know where that's coming from.
And so are the richest,
Yeah.
Gates, Tom Steyer, Mark Cuban.
No. Mark Cuban is a Republican, believe it or not.
No, he donates a lot to the Democrats.
Yes.
And the head guy of Costco,
Because
of course,
the Republicans are also Democrats, so what the hell?
Well, Bezos, too.
Starbucks.
But what concerns me is really the entrance to the MS, because look what they did in their own country. And they're trying to do the same thing here. And it's not going to stop the civil rights.
No.
And so I don't know. All I can say, and that's sad, I'm 80 years old, and I'm glad I won't be here.
Yeah.
It sounds pessimistic, but it's getting worse and worse. None of them are stopping it.
Yeah. Well, that is the sad part, that people are not speaking up. People are not,
yes, they're speaking up. They vote in Democrats.
Yeah. Well,
look at that.
Whatever.
Look at here in Montana.
Mm-hmm. No, I know. I hear you. Yeah, in our own county here.
Yes, in our own country. And the Bullock, how great he was for this nation. Oh, excuse me, I shouldn't talk to that. He's going to be our future president.
Yeah. So you want to be nice to him, yeah. So.
Oh, yeah. The only Democrat I really liked was Schweitzer. He did good. He was good for.
He was state. Okay. He was all right. Yeah.
He was okay for a Democrat.
Didn't do too much damage. Yeah.
That's a safe point. Hey.
All right. Thank you, sweetheart.
Yeah. All right, fellas. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Let's take one more call. Then we got to take a break. Caller, you are on the air. What's up?
Hey, so I'm just curious, is this an equal opportunity radio station?
Absolutely. All views are welcome here.
Well, I just hear a lot of bashing of Democrats, and I always hear you bashing Democrats and liberals.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I didn't know if maybe you would be open to some equal reporting.
Absolutely.
I hear. Well, this is Andy, your favorite socialist.
Of course.
I'd love to come on and talk about some issues that you tend to ignore. Healthcare, paid family leave, climate change, those kinds of things. Could I come on and talk about it?
Sure. Yes.
And have you guys admit that the wall's socialism at the same time?
Well, the wall's not socialism, being built by business. I mean, come on.
Well, Mexico is supposed to build it, right?
Well, they will eventually. They'll pay for it. They'll pay for it eventually.
That wouldn't have been socialism if Mexico would have paid for it. But now, since taxpayers are paying for it, it's socialism. So anyway, these are the various things I'd like to talk to you on the show. I'll try to get a hold of you. But try to keep it balanced. Try to keep it balanced here, even with you guys. Like the show hosts are even supposed to be a little more balanced, and it's not. So keep that in mind.
Tom at KMMSAM.com. Tom at KMMSAM.com. Don't forget the AM. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. 12 minutes for the top of the hour. We have a caller waiting, Shane, so let's go to the phones. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you on the Morning Soapbox. What's your name? What's up?
Well, my name is Joel, and I got to tell Andy that when he gets on, I'm going to shut the radio off because liberalism is a sin. And a good Jesuit priest some years ago wrote a book with that very title, Liberalism is a Sin. And we want you to know that our Lord Jesus Christ was not a liberal. He was a conservative, and so was his daddy. And the liberalism, what liberalism is doing to our laws, and this transgenderism, and this sodomy, and all that garbage that's going on, that's what the real problem with the world is. And so when you get on, Andy, I just want you to know I'll shut the radio off because I have no desire to hear anything about liberalism. I think Trump and what the conservatives are trying to do for their world is a far better solution to the problem than anything you can come up with. All right, well, thank you. Anyway, last night, hey, never mind. I've said enough, and thank you very much, Tom.
Okay, thanks for the call. All right, let's take another call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Yeah, I wanted to address Andy, too.
Sure.
We get enough stuff on the TV, the fake news. In fact, I don't have the direct TV or anything, so I just get what I can get for free because I live out in the woods here. And anyway, not that I'd shut him off, but they do have a mute button on, but they ought to let him have a program on probably from midnight to 4 when most of them are up, and they could listen to his rhetoric and stuff like that. But he definitely doesn't know his facts, and he, like I said, there's so many TV stations out there that most all of them are liberal. There's plenty of stuff to watch. You guys and other talk radio are the only places you're going to get any facts, and I know you guys have, and Montana Talks and these different programs have asked people that have different opinions to come on and talk, and if that isn't good enough for him, I feel sorry for him. So anyway, I like listening to you guys when I can. The other ones, if we didn't have the other radio stations with the other side of the aisle addressing things, we wouldn't know what was going on because we'd be getting fed a bunch of BS like these other folks want to do us like Andy. So I'm glad Andy's listening, though. Maybe he's going to turn around one of these days. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for the call. All right. We got to take another quick break. We'll be right back. 5 minutes for the top of the hour. It is Monday, March 4th, 2019. 22 below still, Shane, hanging in there. Sun's coming up. I don't know if we're going to make 8 degrees or not, but we're persevering along. So I don't know, man. It's pretty pretty nippy out there. So coming up at 8 o'clock, Scott Sales and Steve White will be back in the studio. We're going to talk about some of the bills going on, where the rest of the voting and everything in the legislature is going, and maybe a little tutorial on how they both work, since there are different procedures in the House and the Senate. They differ quite a bit, so we'll find out how those two houses work. Let's take a phone call here while we got some time left. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, thanks for being on the Soapbox. What's your name? What's going on?
Well, good morning there, Shane and Tom.
Hey, how you doing, Pete?
You know, I got a message for Mr. Andy.
Yeah.
You can't hardly find conservative talk. You got a show here and a show there, and mostly they're all on AM radio. They're getting shut down on the internet left and right, to where there ain't going to be, if you say liberal, you're going to be banned from being on Twitter or Facebook or any other. So my message is this: call in and take on you a few minutes of shame, just like the rest of us.
There you go.
Your fame, I should say, not shame. was that a slip of a Freudian?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. Well, as I've always said, I'm not here to argue with anybody. I'm not here to convert anybody to my way of thinking. Shane and I have formed our opinions over a lifetime. Both of us have been around the block. My first president was FDR. So I've been around the block a little bit when it comes to, I've lived through liberal presidents. I've lived through conservative presidents, and I have formed my opinions on, what I see happening to people, and I also see the good and bad, in my opinion, and that's all I have is my opinion. That's
all anybody has.
Yeah, as to how things work, and
don't work.
Yeah, or don't work. Yeah. But for the most part, although I do believe the conservative viewpoint is somewhat restrictive, that we are pretty well etched in our religion. We are etched in a lot of other, things that don't appear like we are compassionate. And I just mentioned that earlier, that illegal aliens not being turned over to ICE, I can see where liberals would say, oh, they're just trying for a better life and all this and all that, and that's fine, but they're breaking the law. It's
right. There's a process.
Yeah, and I've always said it's easy to be a liberal. It's easy to be for the poor. It's easy to spend money. It's easy to make sure nobody's suffering. It's easy to make sure that, everybody has a safety net. But from the conservative standpoint, somebody's got to pay the bill. Sooner or later, a bill ends up on someone's desk.
Well, like Margaret Thatcher says, sooner or later you run out of other people's money, and that's a fact.
Yeah, that is a fact.
And you can't get away from it, and period. And the thing is, you look at, I don't know who's going to argue about socialism anyway, because I got an older set, 1928 Encyclopedia Britannica. It's 2 columns of fine print for over 6 pages on socialism. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to solve anything in 2 minutes on the radio about socialism because it's pooch.
No, I don't think so. The only thing is that viewers can make up their mind on which side they like.
Well, and so can voters, and so can taxpayers.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Shane,
bad choices, bad consequences.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right.
I'm with you. And I've been my first election I got to vote in was Nixon.
Yeah, me too.
So, yeah, it's a mad world today. We're not, we thought Nixon was a criminal, and Nixon was actually a saint.
Yeah. Crazy Gate, buddy. It's Crazy Gate.
Crazy Gate is right. The Russians did it.
Yeah. You break into a Democratic headquarters, big deal.
Yeah, what were they going to find?
That's right.
A bunch of empty skulls?
Yeah. Thanks, Pete.
You bet.
All right, we got to duck out here, pay some bills, and we've got Scott Sales and Steve White coming in next, and we're going to be talking about the Montana legislature and all the bills and things going on, so let's get on with that, and we'll be back with them right after the news. It is 4 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock, and it's Monday, March 4th, 2019, and, still 20 degrees below zero out there. It's a pretty nice morning, but, hey, we're here to warm things up. We got Scott Sales in the house. We've got Steve White in the house, and, guys, how you doing?
I'm sorry.
Cold.
I'm sorry we're back.
What wimps you guys are. Come on.
Kind of like, I'm sorry we're open.
Are you both natives?
No, I was born in Wyoming.
Okay.
Yeah, he was born in a colder place.
Yeah. Well, it's almost Montana. How about
my great-grandfather came here in 1864 in a covered wagon.
Okay.
So there you go. That's kind of native.
1864. Yeah. Wow.
Before it was even a place.
Yeah.
So, but I live on our ranch west of Bozeman. We've had in our family since 1899.
Wow! Holy smokes!
Before I was born, I want you to know that.
Yeah, my ancestors came over in 1850 from Germany to avoid the draft.
Draft dodgers.
I come from a long line of draft. I'm the only one in my family that served in the military. So
wow,
what are you going to do about that?
You made up for it.
Apparently,
yes, you did.
Only one dumb enough to stay out.
And I appreciate you doing it. No, I appreciate you.
Or not dumb enough to stay out. Hey, real quickly, Gallatin Gateway Schools will be on a 2-hour delay today, as will Manhattan. Three Forks will not have bus service today. Students have the option to stay home due to the weather if they ride the bus. Montforton schools will not have bus service today. The Bozeman School District, they'll be on a 2-hour delay also today due to the extreme temperatures. And in addition, all buses will run 2 hours late. Afternoon dismissal and everything will be at their regular times. And there's no morning activities at any of the schools, no zero period at Bozeman High. And the Belgrade School District, they'll also be on a 2-hour delay today, and extreme cold the reason. And buses in Belgrade will be delayed 2 hours, and schools will be staffed to open to students at 10 a.m. So there you are. It's a little unseasonably cold for March. Usually we get this in February, don't we?
Or January.
Yeah, January and February. Yeah, I remember when when I was filling in here 2 years ago, it was 25 below on a couple rides in here. So it was 37 this morning in my polluting van.
This is the longest cold snap I've seen in quite a while.
Yeah.
This was pretty, 25 years ago, this is pretty normal to have, a 10-day, 2-week cold snap. Then it'd warm up, and then you'd have another one.
Yeah.
3 or 4 during the winter, but we haven't had one for a long time.
Usually by the 1st of March, you can pretty much count that you're not going to see any below zero weather.
Well, and also, too, it's been unusual to snow at these colder temperatures.
Yep.
Usually snow happens around freezing or, either side of freezing. But, when it's 10 below and it's snowing, that's, it's nice. It's great powder for skiing. But
I saw an Optimist this morning on Main Street coming in. It was a big pickup pulling a fifth wheel camper trailer.
Yeah.
So I don't know where he's going, but
south.
He's going to try to get out of here.
Yeah. Going somewhere.
I've had enough.
I tried to look at the license plate, wondered if is he on the wrong road or
how
what?
dumb are you? Huh?
Sorry about all this. I got to go south to get those pipes unplugged.
I've always said if you're homeless in Montana in August, you better start walking south.
Get them moving. Get them moving.
Arizona's nice this time of year, or San Diego or someplace, but you need to definitely get out of here. So, but yeah, well, I digress, guys. We've got Scott Sales, the Senate President in the House, Tommy Goloff, your morning mayor, Shaman Taubman on the line from Vancouver, British Columbia, Steve White, badbills.com. And I thought we might do a couple things today, guys. One thing that Steve and I talked about, Scott, is maybe a little bit of a, between you two guys, a tutorial on how the Senate and the House work, because they have different rules. And
we have an expert with us this morning because Scott is not just the president of the Senate for the last 2 sessions, but
you've been the House as well.
He was Speaker of the House.
Right.
And what year was your first session? The very first session?
03.
Yeah, because I met Scott before that, and he's done an outstanding job in the House and then moved up to the Senate. But you, of all people, would know the difference of the rules. There's House rules, there's Senate rules, there's joint rules, and those rules are established each session, and sometimes there becomes quite a squabble over some parts of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I was thinking maybe we might, if we want to take an imaginary bill, for example, and just kind of walk it through. Maybe it's a money bill. It starts in the House and, or an appropriations bill of some kind. And then how does it go to the Senate? What tables it? What kills it? What?
Yeah. And Scott, if you could talk about, there's multiple actions that a committee can do to a bill. We had a question a couple of days ago or a couple of weeks ago on a tabling action, but there's other actions the committee can do. And and it may vary from the Senate versus the House, but they can stall a bill without tabling it.
Well, well, I'll just start with the rules.
Okay.
And this is real inside baseball that, I really didn't even, when I went to the legislature and I thought I was somewhat of an informed citizen, I didn't know anything really how the legislature worked. I don't know why anybody really would. It's nothing that I don't think you study in your, even when we had what I would call decent civics back, 40 years ago when we were in high school. But there are very few laws that pertain to how the legislature works. Right in the Constitution, it says that each body will make its own rules and elect its own member or its own leadership. So that's all done by rule. And how the rules are established is when after the election, the majority party, which has been Republican pretty much since I came in. There was a couple sessions we were tied, and 1 or 2 sessions when the Senate was Democrat. But for the most part, the Republicans have the rules, so I know a little bit about this. So leaders, we caucus, typically a week to 10 days after the general election, and we elect leadership. And the minority elects their leadership, and the majority elects their leadership. And you run for different positions like President of the Senate, Majority Leader, Whip, President Pro Tem, and over on the House side you have Speaker, Speaker Pro Tem, Majority Leader, Minority Leader. Those are elected, and then basically you organize the House, you organize the Senate, you have a Rules Committee, you basically adopt the rules from the last session, or actually you don't adopt them, they're in place, and you make new rules. And typically they don't change a lot from time to time. This session was the exception to that. So in the House, not in the Senate, we did fine tune our rules, and they do get fine tuned every single session. But the majority party makes the rules. There's a rules committee that votes it out. It's a bill, just like any other bill. It goes before, once it's agreed upon in committee on a positive motion, goes to the full Senate floor, and it's debated, and the rules are agreed upon, typically by majority rule. And then the Senate
why would the Senate have to confirm House rules?
Well, we don't confirm House rules. We just confirm our own. The House is at the same time is doing the same process.
Yeah.
Okay. Then there's this thing that Steve mentioned, which is called joint rules, which are the agreed upon rules on how the House and Senate are going to work together.
Okay. So how one thing transfers, so stuff transfers back and forth. So
right. And so then we also have, not only do we have a Senate rules meeting and a House rules meeting, we have a joint rules meeting between the House and Senate rules committees. And that's where the joint rules are hashed out. And when it's a majority party, typically that's a little friendlier. When it's, if the bodies are divided, then the joint rules might be a little bit more contentious. But they're going to, eventually the rules are going to be agreed upon to some extent.
Sure.
And then that's how things operate. And the rules are very, you can get right down into the
mud?
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of motions what you can do on the floor, motions in committee, like Steve was mentioning before. And I don't know how far you want to get into those type of details.
The thing I've noticed over the years is that legislators, as Scott said, as they go into the service legislators in the House or the Senate, oftentimes this is their first shot. They've never done this before. They have no idea of what's ahead. They go through orientation and all this. But the thing I've learned, and I've tried to convey this to legislators that are, folks that are freshmen, if you learn the rules, that gives you an incredible advantage, because there are things that occur on the floor that all of a sudden people are scratching their head on and trying to figure out, is this right? And the guys that know those rules, they control the environment, and they control it in a positive way. Now, the thing I was going to ask you, Scott, that you could clear up, if let's just say the House is evenly divided, they're 50 and 50.
Been there.
Okay. Yeah, we certainly have. How is it? Is the Speaker of the House established by what party has the governor?
Yeah, and that's the Constitution. That's not even
Constitution.
That's not the rule. So, Constitution says that in the event that either body is equally divided, the office of Speaker, and I assume it would be President too. I haven't been involved in one of those, but I have involved twice where the House has been tied. My second session and my fourth session. It just says in the Constitution it goes to the body of or to the party of the governor. But even then it's divided power. So like I was Speaker of the House in 2007. We lost one seat. We were tied in 2009, and I had the position. I was actually elected. There was one House seat that was still so close it was a recount. That's the way it was in 2007 when I got the Speaker's job, and that's the way it was in 2009. We weren't sure that we weren't going to be in the majority in 2009 again. There was one seat up in Kalispell. It was close enough that it qualified for a recount. Anyway, so then in that situation, both parties elect speakers in the event that, you really don't know how it's going to go until after your caucus. Unfortunately, our candidate didn't prevail, and I had the position of the Republican leader. So in a divided body like that, there's 16 standing committees. We had 8. The Democrats had 8. I assigned my own people, and I had 8 chairmen that I assigned, which, under majority, if there was a solid majority, then the Speaker has control of all 16 standing committees. Now, the Speaker still assigned the bills and all that, and he hired staff, and he presided over the session. But all the committees were equally divided, and we assigned our own people according to what we wanted, and we had control of 8 committees as far as the chairman went. So it's a lot different situation when it's 50-50. And basically, this has happened off and on over the years. It happened in the 80s once or twice, and then it happened in the early 2000s twice. And so we basically just adopted rules from those previous, or very similar rules from those previous bodies, previous sessions. One thing that's different is in order to get some critical legislation out of a committee, because if everybody just deadlocked up, there's these things called silver bullets. And I'm sure you know, where I think there was 8 bills that we had in the 05 and the 09 session that could come out on a tie vote. And leadership agreed upon that. And because you got to move the appropriations bills. I mean, that's the one thing that we're constitutionally chartered to do is pass a budget.
Yeah. All right. We got to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Scott Sales and Steve White right after this. 21 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock. It's Monday, March 4th, 2019. 20 below zero outside. Shane Talman joins me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Tom Eaglehoff, your morning mayor, along with Scott Sales, the president of the Montana Senate, and Steve White, badbills.com. And let's take a phone call, guys. We've got a phone person waiting for us. So, caller, you are on the Soapbox with Scott and Steve. What's up?
Well, enough of the abstractions. Let's get behind the scenes. Now, a national public radio reporter was allowed behind the scenes now that the switch is on in the federal House chambers. Now that the House has switched from the Republicans to the Democrats in the House, the Democrats get 20 large offices, and the Republicans are relegated to a couple of offices and a central office that barely can hold the copier and the microwave, and they get control of the cameras, so they're switched, so they feature the Democrats. Now, in Montana, do these Republicans have more offices and more control over the cameras since they're in power? And if the Democrats would get in power, there'd be a switch behind the scenes, and the offices would suddenly become more plush for the Democrats?
The question is yes. That's how it works, is that there's assigned office space for, like, the president. That office never changes. So if you're a Republican president, you get that office. If you're a Democrat president, you get that office. Same with majority leader and so on and so forth. There's like only really 3 offices in the Senate that are always, president's office stays the same, the speaker pro tem stays the same, majority leader. So in the event of a party change, they would move in and the minority party would move out. I actually experienced that when I was Speaker of the House. I had the Speaker's office, and then when I effectively became minority leader when we were tied 2 years later, I picked up my stuff and moved down the hall into this little tiny office, and that's how it works. The Senate has quite a bit of office space. Obviously, when you're a majority party and you have more members, they get more office space than the minority party, and that's just how it works.
And the broadcasting of all of the hearings and of the Senate and House floor actions never changes. It's
right.
It's independent from the legislature, and there's nobody's trying to control which. Everything is broadcast, every single committee, except maybe some of your conference committees. But no, there's
that's controlled by Legislative Services Division, which is truly a nonpartisan type effort there. So totally that doesn't change at all. Now, the chairmen have quite a bit of authority, what they can allow or what they won't allow in terms of props or stuff that's brought in, or if someone wanted to show a video or that type of thing. Mm-hmm. That's controlled to some degree or to a large degree by the chairman. But they try to accommodate the minority as much as possible. I actually
haven't, over the years, Scott, I haven't seen much difference in how a chairman runs a committee versus, depending on party. I really...
Well, it certainly helps when one party's been in power for a while, because when I have seen transition back and forth, you just have people that are skilled as being chairman, and that just takes some time. You got to do that. I mean, chairing a committee, there's very few people that can chair a committee effectively the first time they do it. There's quite a bit to learn there.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right. Good.
All right. Thanks for the call. All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. 25 minutes after the hour, and we're talking with Scott Sales, the president of the Montana Senate, and Steve White, badbills.com, and we've been kind of talking about the differences between the House and the Senate and how you work with the governor and all of these things. when you're doing the Rules Committee, I assume that's done within the 90 days.
Actually, it's done.
Is it done
prior?
before?
Yeah, right after we caucus.
I was going to say, if you do that before, it wouldn't take so much from the.
We caucus right after the election. We'll have a Rules Committee. Then we'll have an official Rules Committee meeting. Like the first part of December, and then those rules are adopted later. This was kind of odd this session because we didn't adopt our rules until, probably 6 weeks into the session. We've only had rules.
Well, if you have recounts and things like that, sometimes it may be iffy if you can.
Well, the other thing was we could talk about this. The whole sexual harassment thing was put into rules, and there was a lot of changes, and there was a lot of horse trading that went on regarding that, and that took some time.
Okay. Let's take another phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you're on the Soapbox with Scott and Steve. What's up?
Hey, good morning. So I've got a question for both of you. Steve, could you give approximate number of House bills and Senate bills that were introduced this session, and then the total?
I can give you an exact number that are presently House bills and Senate bills. There's 640 House bills, 321 Senate bills. There's a total number of bills of 1,045. So the difference between, if you add those two numbers together, there are going to be some joint resolutions and House resolutions, etc. Now, you got to recall that we got we've got bill requests, and that number is considerably higher. It's 3,292, and the deadline.
Oh my God!
The deadline is
three times higher.
Well, and it's 1,000 more than last session. But again, this gives you a clear view that not all of the bill requests become bills, and of the ones that have been introduced, there's a lot that have not that haven't passed out of committee either.
All right. So here's the question I have for Scott then. So you have that many bills before your body, the legislative body, Senate and House. How in the heck do you guys actually manage that? And as an observer of all of this, I look at this as almost an incomprehensible process. I mean, some of these bills are really complex. I mean, they really are difficult to understand.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're only given 90 days to figure this out. I mean, it's almost like an out-of-control legislative process from a consumer viewpoint.
Over the years, I've been criticized a lot for voting no as much as I vote no. And in my defense, and the truth is, if I don't know what the bill does, or at least I have a pretty dang good idea what it does, I vote no, because and it served me really well because of the unintended consequences that come along with a bill that that's 50, 60, 70, 400 pages long. It's like, holy mackerel, I'm not voting for that thing. And I remember one time I stood up on the House floor before I was in leadership. I think it was my second session. I said that I had this rule. And my rule was, if a bill had a staple in it, I voted no. And I took a bunch of grief from my fellow House members, but there was a little bit of wisdom in that, and a little bit of sarcasm and just joking. But you're absolutely right. We do things up there that are very complex and oftentimes not as informed as they should be.
All right.
Well, why don't you guys get a bit of common sense and pass a limit on how many bills can actually be introduced?
We'll talk about that when we get back.
Yep. We got to go. Hey, thanks for the call. All right. Appreciate it. All right, well, we got a duck at her. We're talking with Scott Scales, the Montana Senate leader, and Steve White, badbills.com. And Shane and I and Scott and Steve will be back right after the news. 26 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Monday, March 4th, 2019. It's still around 15 to 20 below zero out there, so be careful. Frostbite can happen really, really quickly, so make sure you're covered up if you're going outside or going anywhere. Warm the old bus up, climate change be damned.
Dang global warming.
That's right.
It could be minus 64.
It could be.
Just glad it's up 30 degrees.
That's right. Scott Scales, the Senate president of Montana Senate, is with us in the House, and Steve White, badbills.com, is also in the House. And we were looking at maybe are there some bills we need to alert everybody on if they want to go testify or talk about or whatever.
Back to Bob's question, he called in just before the break, and is there some way you could limit the number of bills, because we're sitting at 3,200 bill requests, and 1,000 of those turned into bills. You had House Bill 317 by Representative Keene over in the Butte area, and it was a bill to actually limit the number of bill draft requests. It was killed.
Of course it was.
Of course it was.
Wait, I want to introduce my bill. Come on.
But I do know that he does have 50 bill requests in, so I appreciate him putting it in there, but it would have been good. But there are limitations, but it feathers down. I mean, there's a lot of people don't realize that if you're an uncontested race for the House
or holdover
in the Senate, you can start putting in bill requests after the session ends.
Wow.
You go out.
So you got a year to throw them up there.
You've got 20 months.
Yeah, when you look at in May of this year, you'll see bill requests for the 2021 session that are already sitting there.
So straws will be coming back.
Straws will probably always be back.
All right, let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Yes, good morning, gentlemen. I have curiosity about Senate Bill number 284. Could somebody expound on the intent of that bill for me, and I'll hang up. You guys have a great day.
All right, thanks for the call.
Well, you caught me flat-footed.
Well, I know 284.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank
so
you.
284
That's why I brought you here.
It was. I think that's Senator Gross's bill that basically said that. Well, I'll back up a little bit. So over the years, the legislature has passed language that, or put into law that, if you're campaigning, and I hope I have the bill right, that you have to have certain qualifiers, like if you're going to mention legislation, you have to have the right bill number, you have to have the right title, you have to have the right vote. So you could claim, well, Scott Sales voted no on such and such.
Yeah.
And I remember the second time I ran, I had an opponent that had a whole list of bills that I voted, and he had the vote correct, and he had the bill number correct, but the title of the bill was totally different. I mean, it just like, yeah, I voted no against that, but it was that the bill title that he put in didn't match anything that had to do with the real bill, and so I complained to the Commissioner of Political Practices, and then there's been laws over the years, and the courts have consistently thrown these out, and we've spent about $250,000 in taxpayer money trying to defend this law. And finally, the Commissioner of Political Practices came to me this session and says, you know what, we get all these complaints. The courts have ruled we can't do this. And would you carry a bill to strike that language out? That basically the courts have said, if you're running for office, you're fair game. People can say whatever they want about you. And so I carried the bill. It passed 50-zip in the House, or in the Senate, went over to the House. And then right on the heels of that, Senator Gross brought a bill to put new language in to tell people that they can't do this any longer. And I tried to kill it on the Senate floor and came about, I think, 2-3 votes short. And so it passed out. Now, this was when I was talking about the 40-70 rule, that in joint rules it says if one bill dies in one body, it's automatically dead in the other body. Representative Dudek had the exact same bill in the House, and then he killed it on the floor of the House. So the Speaker sent me a note over transmittal saying, hey, we're not going to accept 284 when it comes over because we've already dealt with this subject matter and it's dead. So that's how the joint rules interact with one another in that fashion.
And that's an important thing, too, is to prohibit a bill just reappearing and reappearing and reappearing. There was a bill a number of years ago that was a primary seatbelt bill, and it was killed conclusively in the House, and it showed up again in the Senate, and I'd seen it die, and I happened to be at the Senate hearing, and I stood up and I said, well, with all due respect, Mr. Chairman, this is the same identical bill as this other bill, and I gave them the number, and they were caught flat-footed. They didn't know. And again, it's because the Senate often doesn't know what's going on in the House.
I had no idea that same piece of legislation had already been killed in the House until the Speaker called.
They are separate houses. You think that they're not that many feet apart geographically in the Capitol building, but you have committees that are separate. I mean, there are no House members on any of the Senate committees. I mean, just how it works.
Yeah, I mean, I could go out and look at those 600 pieces of legislation that are been introduced, but I don't have time to do that.
You have to take them on a first come, first served basis, because otherwise Yeah, that's all you'd be doing.
I could hire another person to just check on what the House does. Maybe
yeah.
I was going to be around another session. I might do that.
I've got a bunch of texts here that refer not to you guys, but refer to Andy calling in earlier. I don't know if you heard. Andy called in. Yes. Okay, Andy called in. So I want to get some of these texts out of the way, then we'll take a break. Let's see. Tell Andy if he's worried about hearing liberal BS to tune into CNN, and while he's at it, go back to whatever liberal state he moved here from. So that's one. And why doesn't Andy move to a Marxist country? There's plenty of them out there. Don't mess with the U.S. any more than you already have. Let's see. Why doesn't Andy... I just did that one. Let's see. Socialism and government control over the means of production. Andy likes to conflate taxpayer purchased goods and socialism to hide its insidious nature of limiting individuals' liberty. Very intellectually dishonest. Let's see. I wonder how many times the socialist that just called you has called CNN, MSNBC, and the rest of them and told them to keep it balanced. The guy's a joke, probably moved here from California or Seattle, thinking he knows how he's going to change Montana for the better, but we natives are not going to put up with that crap. By the way, it's 35 below in Belgrade, so a little cold over there. Let's see. Just want to say what a great job the plow drivers did in the neighborhoods this weekend. All right, that's a good deal. Let's see. I think it's okay to give Andy his voice. Maybe a good discussion about the definition of socialism is a good thing. Unfortunately, Andy doesn't know what he's talking about. And let's see. Andy needs to move to a socialist country for 10 years, then come back and report the experience. Andy and his groups are attacking conservative radio. He's rich and has a phone to call you, a car to come to the station to argue with you, and a place to live while he shows up at the station. Oh, wait, maybe he lives in one of Bernie's houses and will be driving his Audi to the station. So, all right. So we caught up on all the texts that we had to there. I didn't want to leave anybody out.
So. It's like Andy lit a fuse somewhere.
Andy lit a fuse. Yes, wow. Yes, he did. Shane, you got one point you wanted to make, and then we'll take the break.
Sure. I just want to thank both you gentlemen coming to the mayor's house. And, a republic survives on transparency. You do a great job. So 3 House bills, if you would, Senator White. 8B 226, HR 302, HR 303. If you'd comment on those when we come back.
What was the second one?
HR 302. That's the important one.
We'll do that, and we'll be right back with more right after this. 14 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Monday, March 4th, 2019. Well, it's up to 10 degrees outside below zero, so we're getting there. We're looking for a high of 8 degrees today. I don't know if we're going to make that or not, but we'll certainly find out. Scott Sales is in the House, president of the Montana Senate. Steve White, badbills.com, is also in the House, and Shane had some bills we need to talk about. 3 of them, Steve. Do you want to start?
Well, I've grabbed 2 of them, okay. So I did the best I could.
All right.
We've got House Bill. He was asking about House Bill 303, and House Bill 303 was a bill to abolish compulsory attendance, or the requirement for compulsory enrollment into public schools, and that was brought forward. That's not the first time that's been brought forward. Basically, what it does is that, and it's been tabled, so it didn't make it out of the committee, but it was designed for the parents to be 100% in charge of if the student was to go to school. As everyone knows, I'm a real advocate of homeschooling. And the way it works with compulsory enrollment is that every child from the ages of 7 through 16 in Montana are required to attend public school. But there are exceptions to that. You can be exempted if you comply with a section of law in Title 20, which allows for homeschooling or private schooling. There's even some sections in there that a judge can remove them, a student from the school. And also you have the Gun-Free Schools Act, that if they show up with a weapon, they can be booted out. But what this bill was about was just to completely abolish it. Every state has compulsory attendance of different age ranges. And so the committee heard it. I listened to it. There were proponents and there were certainly opponents. And week or two later, it was just before transmittal, they tabled that. So and he'd asked me about that early on when he was thinking of introducing it, and I didn't participate in it. I've seen in the past what had occurred, and homeschoolers have the opportunity to pretty easily exempt themselves from the compulsory attendance, and there are sections of the law that outline that. So at any rate, that was, I think, the third session that bill had been introduced.
Rick George carried that.
Rick George carried
years
it twice.
ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it, again, in his case, it never made it out of committee. So it was, the question is whether or not the state has authority over, sending, truancy officers to people's houses whose children aren't in school. That was the issue before. And I thought the testimony was given was good, solid testimony. It just never got out of that committee. And it was certainly a Republican-controlled committee, so it just didn't go anywhere. The House Bill 302, which is the personhood bill, that has a hearing set up. It made it out of the House, and it's now in the Senate, and it's going to have a hearing on the 19th of March. And that is a bill that actually, I think it goes to the people for a vote. I think
I don't know if it's a referendum or not. It may be. I haven't looked at it.
And it's essentially established that personhood is a person before he's born.
Yeah, I think it's life at conception or something to that effect.
And actually, if you go out, and this would be an interesting challenge for people to examine our Montana laws, and I wish I had it at the tip of my fingers here, but there is a section of law, and it relates to insurance coverage, that there is a section that's says very, very clearly in Montana law that identifies a person as an unborn person. Mm-hmm. And it is in Montana law. It's been there for many years. And
well, it's for transfer of property, isn't it? You can leave stuff to your unborn heirs, and
I can't recall. It's in a section that I was surprised to see it, but it does have gives a very clear directive to the interpretation of a person that if that person is yet to be born, it is indeed a person.
All right.
And it's in Montana law.
All right, we got to do the Rush update, and we'll be right back. Here's Rush. Oh, yeah, 3 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Monday, March 4th, 2019. Well, we're up to almost 8 degrees below zero outside, so things are getting better, Shane. Things are getting better. All right, we've got Scott Sales is in the house, the Montana Senate, the president of the Senate and the Montana legislature, and Steve White, badbills.com. And, well, we had a couple bills that Shane wanted to bring to the forefront, and we got one of them. We got a couple others in there.
Got two of them, then 226, but I don't know much about that one.
226. I just had it up. What did I say? What it was?
It was the shooting range.
Oh yeah. Basically, that's a bill that would say that for shooting ranges will no longer they'll be tax exempt. I think from like a 501c3 type standpoint. They wouldn't be paying property tax, if I remember that correctly. It passed the Senate fairly, even picked up a couple Democrat votes. So it passed the Senate, I think, 60-39, 60-40. It's already over in the Senate, and I've assigned it to Senate tax. In fact, I think it's already had a hearing, and it's just sitting there. They haven't taken executive action on it.
Why would they be exempt from property tax? And I mean, they're just a business like any other business. Well, it seems like, other than
these actually aren't businesses. These are like nonprofit type shooting ranges that. They typically don't pay. I mean, they don't charge much. If they do, it's just to cover expenses. Yeah, okay. And I think it's an effort to try to get more shooting ranges
or
out
something
there.
Like that, or is it just members that kind of chip in, or things like that? Or
I think they're
a private club designation, I guess. Maybe
I think they're non-incorporated type organizations that could potentially set up a shooting range in somebody's area. So, don't know a lot about the bill. Yeah. I know that it sounds like. if you're in the legislature, you should know the intimate details of every single bill.
Yeah.
Nobody can get you that.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Really, the only bills that you really get to know very well are the ones that you hear in committee.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of them, unless you're like Steve and you're really good at reading bills, you have to rely on people that are like-minded that actually serve on those committees that know the details of what the ins and outs.
One thing you can do is you can go out and on bad bills and take the link, look up a bill, and then there's that takes you to the legislative site, and then there is a link there that you can list out all of the bill requests, all of the bills, and then you can do a keyword search, Command F, and look for a keyword that you're interested in, shooting ranges, and it'll bring, the titles are pretty good, and most times, and it'll bring up all of the bill requests and all the bills that have the word shooting range in the title. And that gives you a good starting point.
All right. We're out of time, guys.
All right.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Coming
and thanks,
in
Scott, for being here.
You betcha.
Thanks,
You take
Scott.
care.
Thanks, Steve, for coming in, braving the cold weather. Say goodbye, Shane.
Thank you, Mayor. Be happy, be safe. Take care.
All right. Will do. All right, that wraps it up for us for a Monday. Stay warm out there. It's pretty nice, and you guys need to hang around for a picture. So don't go too far. All right, we'll be right back. Well, we won't be right back, but Aaron Flynn will be right back with Montana Talk. So we'll see everybody tomorrow, bright and early, 6 a.m.